Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are staying safe and enjoying your Sunday. So today, this morning, I was really in my head having, a deep philosophical conversation with myself in my head this morning. And I think it was an extension of a deep conversation that I was having with myself from yesterday evening. And I realized throughout all of this thought that I've had is that for me, the key to happiness is gratitude. So last night I was getting ready to do my nightly yoga and I clicked on a video where it was meditation for mental balance and grounding. And about 10 seconds into it, I changed it because I was like, no, I really want to get a yoga practice in. I need to move my body. And I was being a real stickler about it. So I clicked a different yoga video and I was starting to do it. But then about 10 seconds into that one, I was like, I really just want to do the meditation one. My body and my mind was saying, we want to do that one. So I said, you know what? I'm going to listen to you guys. Let's do it. And so I'm doing this yoga video. And the whole premise of the video was to notice the rise and fall of your breath. Notice the rise and fall of your body and different body parts and unclenching the shoulders and the neck and the jaw, but also the rise and fall of your emotions and how you are feeling. And so about midway through this meditation practice, I start sobbing, just tears flooding down my face. They just came almost from nowhere. And for the first time in my life, I looked at my emotions, I acknowledged them, and I let them flow through my body. For the first time in my life, I allowed myself to be vulnerable and look at my emotions as if they were this personified being. And I looked at it and said, hi, I see you, I acknowledge you. And the being almost said back to me, I see you and I acknowledge you. And for me, this was a really big deal because I have never allowed myself really to be vulnerable. For me, for a long time, vulnerability was a sign of weakness. And I never let myself feel that way. I would just bottle my emotions, shove them down, shove them down, shove them down. And then one day I'd eventually explode. And that's kind of just how I lived my life. And so yesterday, for the first time, I really understood what it felt like to just accept, embrace, and allow my emotions to flow through me and flow out through me and accept them and recognize them. And that was such a euphoric experience for me. And so the whole evening I was just smiling after the practice, just ear to ear smiling, because I've never experienced something like that before. And I was so grateful and so content and peaceful. And it was in that moment that I realized for me, my happiness came from gratitude. And having such a gratitude for such an experience made me feel happy, made me feel light, and made me feel hopeful. And I realized that the reason this was a big deal was because I finally acknowledged what I have been feeling ever since this whole, I think of it as a tragedy, started. And, during this yoga practice, as the tears were falling, I was saying out loud, I'm scared. I am so scared. I don't know what is in store for me. I don't know what's in store for my family. I don't know what the future holds. And I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm so scared. And after acknowledging my fear, and after the yoga practice, and I began to think a little bit more. I know meditation is kind of to empty out your thoughts, but for me, the way I empty out my thoughts is to really get in them and acknowledge them and kind of understand and work through them. I realized that in this same event that has given me so much fear, it has also given me so much hope. And for me, that hope is something I haven't had in a very, very long time. And that hope is where this feeling of happiness is beginning to come from. And that gratitude for that hope is what's given me peace. Because for a long time, I realized I have felt very alone. I have felt very lost, very directionless. And it's a crude way to say it, but I have felt like such a loser for the last 3 years. And, I have been looking for work since August of 2019. And I have felt so much pain and so much fear because, before all of this, it felt like I was drowning. I was drowning and I was kicking and fighting to stay afloat, but it seemed that I could never reach the surface. And as soon as I did, all this water would flow back into my lungs and I'd be pushed down. And people would say, don't worry, we're in this together. We've all been there. You'll get a job. Don't worry. We've all been there. We're all going to get, we'll get through this together. But I never felt like I was together or I was with anybody, because it seemed that as I was fighting for air, as I was fighting to survive, all these other people had their safety vests and their life jackets. And every time I broke the surface, they were closer and closer to the shore. And while they were getting closer to the shore, they were yelling, don't worry, we're all in this together. And this may seem selfish, and it very well might be selfish, but I feel now more than ever, people are finally beginning to understand where I'm coming from. And people are finally beginning to see me. And because for once, people I feel are beginning to understand what it's like. We're all actually kind of drowning in this together. And like I said, it's a crude way of putting it, and maybe it's selfish, but throughout all of us in this together, we're actually helping each other, trying to stay afloat. Even as we're drowning, we'll give extra support to someone who is drowning a little bit more, and we're lifting them back up to the surface while still trying to hold ourselves up to the surface. And we've become this connected chain almost of trying to stay afloat. And for once, I feel hope, because I've realized that now, maybe this was the kick in the pants I needed to be productive and motivated. But for me now, there's no other alternative other than to fight for my life. And there's no other alternative other than to fight for others as well. And so I finally feel like I found direction and purpose in my life again. I always felt my calling was to help people. And initially I thought that I could help people through education. And when that didn't work out, I felt so lost. I didn't know why I was alive. I always was questioning to the universe, to fate, to God. I didn't know, but what am I doing here? What is my purpose here? And when you don't have that, it's very hard to feel hopeful, because you're questioning every single day, why am I here? And now, throughout this whole thing, I feel that I'm finally emerging from my ashes, and I see a vision of possibilities. Through these ashes, we can arise a brand new future. And I see a vision for myself. I see a vision for others. And I feel that I have a purpose, a direction, that maybe it wasn't to solely educate people, and that's how I help people. Maybe I help people by being this vulnerable and being this honest and saying, I've been there and I understand. Maybe it's through written word, and it helps people reevaluate what they want, what their vision, what their purpose is. Maybe it is through education. I don't know. But I finally feel like I have a purpose again, and I have a vision again. And my vision is to help people become the visions of themselves that they want to be. And I'm not trying to say I'm a life coach by any means, but however I am helping myself to get through this, I want to help others. And I realized that was why I wanted to be here. I wanted to help people. And maybe it's going in a different direction than I imagined, but it's still a possibility, and it's still there for me. And I can make my vision of a better world for my nieces and my nephews and my students possible by arising from this situation with the ferociousness and the tenacity that will be needed to change and make our visions a reality of what we want our world to be. And again, that might be through motivating people to better themselves. It might be through leading by example. It might be through letting people feel like they're not alone. I'm not sure what it is, but in all of this realization, I found that for me, my gratitude for this realization and this understanding was yielding a gift that I haven't had in a long time, and that was hope. And my hope is very much intertwined with happiness. When you're not really sure what there's to hold in the future, it's hard to feel happy. But now I see a possibility for a future. I see a possibility where people are free to live how they want to live. We start creating a better lifestyle for not just us, but for us as a unit, as a unified species. And I see a vision that we can become the best part of what it means to be human. And I think that in of itself is a wonderful gift that I haven't had in a while, and I kind of was given it yesterday. And so for me, that is why gratitude is the key to happiness. So thank you guys, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.